I really appreciate to talk to you today. Around 2000, I developed an interest into really saying to myself, my grandmother, my grandfather, my parents, they one time when we are born, we actually have to drink certain medicine to make us live a better life or to boost our immune system to accept the differences of the environment. In 2000, I started to really go into the essential oil. We started by looking at what we have and what we don't have. Then we said, no, we would want to make our own ointments or lotions. Then we chose rosemary because it's a common plant. And then whilst we were working with planting rosemary and growing it up, we started really a small patch. And then we met a certain farmer. He spoke to me at length about rosemary, how it can be used in cosmetics, how it can be used in spices, it can be used in different things, and also in medicine. That's when I really developed a lot of interest into that. So we went on and started to plant also this German chamomile, Metricaria restuta. We imported the seeds from Hungary and through a certain agent, and then we planted it. In 2006, we started really work very hard on it. We planted it, we harvested it in the same year 2006, 2007, because it runs in in 2 years, but it's one season because it's only winter. So 2006, 2007, we harvested this German chamomile or Metricaria restuta. We tried to distill it in a very small amounts, and then we were offered the equipment by CSIR in South Africa. We went on 2007, 2008. We went on to do the same plant, and then we also included again rosemary for other people. We did quite a lot on geranium. When I say a lot, it's because we went up to almost 50 kg of the oil of geranium. Geranium is actually a cross species of indigenous plants. They are indigenous here in South Africa, but they are not endemic. Some of them come from Zambia. We worked on geranium. We found out that we can really plant it. We did a little bit of patches here and there to really test our work. We on that year 2008, 2009, we went on to do Tagetes minuta. Tagetes is actually originate in Chile, in South America. And then it is now very much a plant in South Africa. It is actually indigenized itself because it's growing almost everywhere in South Africa and it's doing very well. So we went on to do Tagetes. We distilled. That year we made, I think, about 200 kg, which we considered ourselves quite big. We sold to a South African company. We started to really start to connect with other major players now. They were in Clocolan, in KwaZulu-Natal, I think KwaZulu-Natal, Freestyle. Up to date, they are the biggest producers of essential oils on Tagetes. We started to really work 2009, 2010. We had a big of a problem because of the American recession, which affected our market, because our market in Europe, and that recession affected the whole world. We didn't really give up. In 2010, 2011, we started also to do seed oils from Kalahari melon. We tested Kalahari melon. We tested Mafura butter, which is Trichalia emetica. We tested also baobab. We tested marula. So we were really vigorous in that year with the help of the other members, the help of then SIOPA, which I was now a full member in that SIOPA. We worked very hard in trying to really make things in a much more professional way. I then started to want to measure everything that which I do. I look at the soil, I record the soil. I look at the soil and see why the plant is growing there. If it is exotic, then I would want to know if it is growing in the Mediterranean, is that the temperature that which makes the plant good, or is also including the soil? So we would want to interact with quite a lot of foreign experts who actually gave us quite a lot of information regarding most of these plants from foreign countries. And then we looked at marula. Why is it marula good if we produce from certain provinces? Marula, as an example, we looked at marula. If you go very north from South Africa, and go very north, which means the Limpopo province, which is quite the northern part of the country. And you'll find that marula there grows very well. They grow big. If there is good rain, they produce good fruits. And then those good fruits, they produce big kernels. Then the yields are high. But we wanted also to say, no, bulk is bulk, but let's look at the quality of the product, the oil coming from those plants. We found out that a distance from the north down about 200 to 300 kilometers south, almost reaching the Capricorn zone, you'll find that there is a slight difference here and there, slight difference, but the difference diminishes as you go south. So it means that plants grow in certain areas. And when they're in those certain areas, they produce elements at ratios quite different from if you move them from where they are endemic or where they grow well. So we looked at that and we wanted to see whether it is very correct as well with Kalahari melon. Kalahari melon is called Citrullus lanatus. It's called Kalahari melon because it grows in the Kalahari Desert soils. It grows here in South Africa, the northern province, which is part of the very southwest of the Limpopo province. You will find Kalahari melon growing wild. But the northwest, which is partly, one would say, the frontiers of the eastern frontiers of the Kalahari Desert, it grows very, very well. You'll find it in great abundance, especially in farms that which are fallow, because farming is like this. You cannot farm in one crop every year. Sometimes farmers leave the farm to lie fallow. So when it is lying fallow, that's when you find a lot of Kalahari melon growing. Or sometimes it grows together with their crops, which is ground nuts in a Venus subterranea, which it grows in the northwest in the sand soil. So you find that it can grow in those crops, or it becomes a weed in those crops, like sunflower as well. It grows as a weed. So we found out that in areas central of the northwest province, the Kalahari melon produced quite good oil, higher yields, more than 15% to about 23%. So that is a huge difference. And then we also found out that the seeds, after extraction from the fruit, should stay for certain times. But we found out that a year at least is very good. If you keep the seeds for a year, the oil matures inside the seeds. When you press, there is a higher yield, and the oil is of good quality, including the omegas and the polyunsaturated and the saturated oil are really very high. So that we put down, we would say that is the standard of producing marula. That is the standard to produce Kalahari melon. Now it comes to also essential oils. Tagetes will do very well. It will grow almost everywhere in this country as long as the land is lying fallow or it is soft soils like sand loam soils. It will grow. We found out that tagetes will do very well where the winter are very chilly. The rain in summer is above 400 and the soils are deep. We found out that if we harvest at certain times, if you harvest tagetes early in March when it started to flower, it doesn't produce good oil. So we looked at that and said, is the oil coming from the flowers or from the leaves? We found out that much of the oil comes from the leaves a little bit, but the calyx of the flower, which is the ripe calyx of the flower, or it actually produces very good oil. Now, why do we say it is good oil? We actually have set up, though it is not yet a standard, which we are actually working on, is that you need to have better elements so that's what you sell to the customer. The tagetes is selling very well if it has got a better amount of or a higher yield percentage of osminane. So we therefore said to ourselves, we have to mark the time of the year to really harvest and produce better osminane. We found out that it is not in the middle of March when the plant starts to flower and make fruits. It is right at the beginning of April. But we realized that as we went on and recording our production and our yields as well as the quality of our oil, we found that the years here in South Africa, I don't know why, but I think maybe it's because of global warming, we have shifted a little bit further, which means something that which you should do at the beginning of April could be much more effective in the middle of April. We have found out that the yield of osminane in tagetes is more right in the middle of April. But in the beginning of April, it rises up almost like every week, it rises up until it maximizes at the middle of April. So that is now a standard that which we are using. And generally, almost every producer, that which I know of, they now know that. So we are putting that one as a standard. So that is that is what is going to go into the quality system. A good seed is, or the selection of the seeds. What scientists or agronomists would do is to look at a plant that which was compatible to the environment in which is the target to plant that crop. We advise people, you cannot choose to plant a variety that which is not tolerant to frosts if you are in the temperate zones. We also advise farmers, you cannot want to plant a variety that which is not compatible with the soil type. Some plants need acidic or a bit of acidic soils. Some plants want alkaline soils, but some plants have tap roots. They want to go into deeper soils. Some plants want total sunshine. Some plants can compromise sunshine to a cloudy day in 5 weeks, no big deal. So we definitely go into that very seriously. We have found out that, as an example, one of our indigenous plants, Kalahari melon, is that it will grow very well in sand soils at a very low rainfall per annum. It can grow even when it is 250 to 350 mils per annum. But if you take it, if a farmer takes it to a place where there is more rainfall, it will grow, it will germinate, it will grow. By the time he goes into his farm, he will be very happy because it will be growing very lavishly. But the fact of the matter is that it will not produce more fruits. If it produces fruits, there will be few. The seeds won't be bigger than the ones that which grows in a drought-prone area. They will be the same size. The oil yield will not be different. In fact, the plant that which grows in a much more rainfall, it will have very little oil as compared to the one that which grew into the hard drought-prone, low rainfall areas. So these are the things that which we record, and we record them because we want everybody to do everything the same and maximize profit. Farmers in South Africa are very lucky because there's systems, there's organization, government parastatals. One of the biggest one is the CSR. There's ARC, Agricultural Research Council as well. We always advise, if I'm consulted, I've been consulted by quite a lot of farmers because I'm a member of SIOPA as well. We always advise farmers, first of all, what do you want to plant? And then they say, I want to plant this. And then I say, what type of soil do you have? They say, I have this type of soil. I say, well, I agree with you. I will come and look at the seeds and see the variety that is, whether it is compatible to that soil. But the soil, we must take it to be tested. But generally, the soil, with the knowledge of the plant, can be determined very easily. You do agree with me, a taproot plant is a plant that which has got a root which goes down and it doesn't branch. Kalahari melon does not have a taproot. It has got an anchor. It doesn't mean that Kalahari melon will grow in shallow soils. That's what we have found out. It doesn't mean that it should grow on shallow soils. You need to, if you plow that soil, which is disking or really ripping the soil, it should be plowed to or rip it for about 35 to 45 centimeters deep. Why is it that a plant like that, which has got a branched root system, needs a deeper soils? And it also grows on sand soils. It is because of its anatomy to arrest the little water that which comes into sand soils. That's what we actually could have determined. But if you were to grow also German chamomile, it is a branch, it doesn't have a taproot soil, taproot system. It actually can grow not in deeper soils, but they should be sand loam soils. So sometimes it is not really saying that a plant by its anatomy, it can grow in this type of soil. It goes with the origin of the plant and its behavior, because the origin of the plant, if it grew up into a desert where there is wind, where there is sunshine, strong sunshine, and then a lot of evaporation of water, and because the soil is sandy, a lot of percolation, water just runs down very quickly. Yeah, so those plants will grow with a lot of water. So that's how we advise people. We don't just say, oh, because you are growing a crop of this, and then we look at its anatomy, and then we say, this is the suitable type of soil. Yeah, it's not really like that. We actually look at its origin as well.
Okay.